You think you're just lazy. But what if your resistance is a message? What if the reason you can't move forward is because part of you doesn't want to? We all know the feeling. That nagging task looming, the deadline creeping closer, and yet we find ourselves doing anything but. It's a universal experience, this procrastination. But it's so much more than simple laziness, isn't it? It's a far more complex puzzle, a silent internal battle waged between our conscious intentions and the often unseen forces of our unconscious. We consciously want to achieve, to accomplish, to move forward. We understand the benefits, the rewards, the sense of accomplishment that awaits us on the other side. Yet, something within us resists, subtly, persistently, pulling us in another direction. This isn't a lack of willpower. It's a deeper, more profound struggle. This internal conflict is the heart of the procrastination puzzle. It's a whisper from our unconscious, a subtle sabotage that keeps us tethered to familiar, to the comfort of inertia, even when we know it's hindering our growth. Today, we'll begin to unravel this puzzle, exploring the hidden depths of our psyche to understand why we procrastinate, and more importantly, how to break free from its grip. We'll delve into the wisdom of Carl Jung's psychology to shed light on the shadows that fuel this pervasive struggle. This journey of self-discovery will require honesty, introspection, and a willingness to confront the parts of ourselves we might prefer to keep hidden. But I assure you, the rewards of understanding, of truly knowing yourself are immense. The journey to overcome procrastination is a journey of self-discovery, a path toward a more integrated and authentic self. And that journey begins now. We often approach procrastination as a problem of willpower, a simple matter of needing to try harder. But what if the issue lies far deeper, beyond the reach of conscious effort? What if the root of our procrastination isn't a lack of discipline, but a conflict playing out in the hidden recesses of our unconscious mind? Carl Jung, a pioneer in depth psychology, illuminated the profound influence of the unconscious on our conscious lives. He described the unconscious not as a mere repository of forgotten memories, but as a dynamic force shaping our thoughts, feelings, and actions in ways we often don't even realize. It's a realm of powerful archetypes, emotions, and complexes, all interacting to influence our behavior. Think of your conscious mind as the tip of an iceberg, visible above the surface. The vast majority of your psychological landscape, your motivations, fears, and desires, lies submerged beneath the surface, hidden from immediate awareness. Procrastination in this framework isn't simply a conscious choice. It's a manifestation of these unconscious processes, a symptom of an underlying conflict. Perhaps you're avoiding a task because it triggers unresolved anxieties or past traumas. Perhaps it threatens your sense of self, challenging your carefully constructed identity. Or maybe on a deeper level, it taps into a fear of success, a fear of the unknown that lies beyond your comfort zone. These unconscious anxieties, fears, and doubts can manifest as procrastination, a subtle yet powerful form of self-sabotage. Understanding these underlying dynamics is crucial to breaking free from the cycle of procrastination. It's about moving beyond surface-level solutions and delving into the depths of your inner world to uncover the true source of your struggle. This deeper understanding will empower you to address the root causes, not just the symptoms, paving the way for lasting change. We will explore these unconscious conflicts in more detail as we continue our journey. Within each of us resides a shadow self, a hidden part of our personality containing the repressed aspects of our being, the fears, insecurities, and emotions we deem unacceptable or undesirable. This shadow self isn't inherently negative. It's simply the unexplored, unintegrated parts of ourselves, and it plays a significant role in our procrastination. Often, the tasks we procrastinate on are those that trigger our shadow self, those that expose us to potential failure, vulnerability, or judgment. Fear of failure, a common inhabitant of the shadow, can manifest as avoidance. We postpone the task, unconsciously protecting ourselves from the potential pain of not measuring up. This isn't about a lack of ability. It's a fear of revealing our perceived inadequacies. But the shadow isn't just about fear of failure. It can also harbor fear of success. Paradoxically, achieving our goals can be terrifying. Success might mean stepping outside of our comfort zone, challenging our established self-image, or even facing the unknown that lies beyond our familiar patterns. The shadow whispers doubts, suggesting that we might not be worthy of success, that we might not be able to handle the responsibilities or the changes it brings. Self-doubt, another shadow resident, further fuels procrastination. It whispers insidious lies, undermining our confidence and reinforcing our belief that we aren't capable of completing the task at hand. These fears, these doubts, these insecurities, all residing within the shadow self, manifest as procrastination, a subtle form of self-protection. By understanding the role of our shadow self in our procrastination, we can begin to approach these fears with compassion, gradually integrating these hidden aspects into a more complete and authentic self. This integration is key to overcoming procrastination and embracing the challenges that lie ahead. This process of integrating our shadow is a crucial step toward wholeness and self-acceptance. Our ego, that conscious sense of self, plays a crucial, often unseen, role in our procrastination. It's the part of us that strives for consistency, for maintaining a sense of order and control. But this striving for stability can ironically lead to avoidance. The ego, in its attempt to protect our carefully constructed identity, can perceive certain tasks as threats. These tasks might challenge our self-image, expose our perceived weaknesses, or force us to confront uncomfortable truths about ourselves. The ego, in its desire to maintain the status quo, reacts by creating obstacles, procrastination being a primary defense mechanism. Imagine a task that requires you to step outside your comfort zone, to learn something new, or confront a fear. The ego might interpret this as a risk, a potential threat to your established sense of self. To avoid this perceived threat, it might subtly sabotage your efforts, whispering doubts and distractions, leading to procrastination. This isn't necessarily a conscious decision. It's a protective response, a way for the ego to maintain its sense of stability and control. This protective mechanism, while seemingly self-preserving in the short term, ultimately hinders personal growth. By avoiding challenges, we limit our potential for expansion, for discovering new facets of ourselves, for becoming a more complete and integrated individual. Understanding the ego's role in procrastination allows us to approach these self-protective behaviors with greater awareness and compassion. We can learn to differentiate between genuine threats and perceived ones, allowing ourselves to take calculated risks and embrace the challenges that lead to personal growth. This journey of self-acceptance and integration is crucial in overcoming procrastination and unlocking our full potential. Understanding the ego's protective mechanisms is the first step toward a more authentic and fulfilling life. Many of us fall into the trap of waiting for motivation to strike before we begin a task. We tell ourselves, "I'll start when I feel ready," or "I'll do it when I'm in the mood." This seemingly sensible approach is, in reality, a self-sabotaging strategy rooted in fear and perfectionism. The truth is, motivation rarely precedes action. It often follows. Waiting for that elusive feeling of being ready is a recipe for perpetual procrastination. It's a way of avoiding the discomfort of starting, of facing the potential challenges and uncertainties that lie ahead. This waiting game allows us to remain in our comfort zone, avoiding the risk of failure or even the effort required to begin. It's a subtle form of self-deception, a way to justify our inaction. Underlying this waiting game is often a fear of imperfection. We believe that we need to feel perfectly motivated, perfectly prepared, before we can even begin. This is a perfectionistic trap that keeps us paralyzed, preventing us from taking the first step. It's important to remember that perfection is an illusion, an unattainable ideal that only serves to hinder our progress. The key to breaking free from this cycle is to embrace the power of just starting. Don't wait for the perfect moment, the perfect feeling, the perfect level of motivation. Simply begin. Take that first small step, even if you don't feel entirely ready. The act of starting, of taking action, often generates its own momentum, fostering a sense of accomplishment and building the motivation to continue. This simple act of beginning can be incredibly powerful, breaking the cycle of procrastination and initiating the process of achieving your goals. Release the pressure of perfection and embrace the power of the first step. Perfectionism, while often perceived as a positive trait, can be a potent catalyst for procrastination. It's a double-edged sword, promising excellence but delivering paralysis. The pursuit of flawlessness, while seemingly noble, can become a crippling burden, preventing us from even beginning tasks. The perfectionist sets impossibly high standards, creating an unattainable ideal that fuels a fear of failure. This fear, far from motivating, becomes a powerful inhibitor. The thought of not meeting these exacting standards triggers anxiety and self-criticism, leading to avoidance. The task remains undone, not out of laziness or lack of ability, but out of a deep-seated fear of judgment and shame. This fear isn't merely about external criticism. It often stems from an internal critic, a harsh inner voice that judges our every effort. This inner critic, fueled by perfectionistic tendencies, sets the bar so high that any imperfection feels like a catastrophic failure. This relentless self-judgment creates a cycle of avoidance, where the fear of falling short outweighs the desire to accomplish the task. Procrastination becomes a protective mechanism, shielding us from the perceived pain of imperfection. The irony is that by striving for perfection, we often achieve the opposite, inaction. The pursuit of flawlessness prevents us from experiencing the process of growth, learning, and improvement inherent in any undertaking. By releasing our grip on this unattainable ideal, by embracing imperfection as a natural part of the journey, we can free ourselves from perfectionism's paralyzing grip and begin to move forward. This shift in perspective is crucial to breaking free from the cycle of procrastination and finding a healthier relationship with our work and ourselves. Let's explore how we can cultivate self-compassion and redefine our approach to tasks. Procrastination plays tricks on our minds, distorting our perception of time. The looming deadline, instead of feeling urgent and imminent, often feels comfortably distant, a phantom threat receding into the hazy future. This distorted perception reinforces the cycle of avoidance. We convince ourselves that we have ample time, that there's no immediate need to act. This illusion of time allows us to postpone the task, to indulge in more immediate, less demanding activities. The looming deadline, instead of spurring us into action, becomes a distant, almost irrelevant detail in the landscape of our present concerns. This temporal distortion is not simply a matter of poor time management. It's a psychological phenomenon rooted in anxiety and avoidance. The approaching deadline represents not just a task to be completed, but also a potential confrontation with our fears. The fear of failure, the fear of judgment, the fear of exposing our perceived inadequacies. By distorting our perception of time, we unconsciously create a psychological buffer zone, delaying the inevitable confrontation. This temporal illusion allows us to maintain a false sense of security, postponing the discomfort associated with facing the task. However, this avoidance only exacerbates the problem, leading to increased stress and anxiety as the deadline approaches. Recognizing this distorted perception of time is crucial in breaking free from the procrastination cycle. By acknowledging the true urgency of the deadline and consciously challenging our tendency to postpone, we can begin to reclaim our relationship with time and approach tasks with greater focus and efficiency. Understanding this illusion is the first step toward a more realistic and productive approach to time management. We all have an inner critic, that nagging voice that judges our actions and shortcomings. For those prone to procrastination, this inner critic can be particularly harsh and unforgiving, fueling a cycle of shame and self-doubt that reinforces avoidance. This isn't simply a matter of negative self-talk. It's a deeply ingrained pattern of self-judgment that can significantly impact our behavior. The inner critic often operates on a subconscious level, whispering doubts and criticisms that undermine our confidence and motivation. When faced with challenging tasks, this inner voice might amplify our fears, highlighting potential failures and emphasizing our perceived inadequacies. This constant stream of negativity creates a sense of shame and self-condemnation, making it incredibly difficult to even begin the task. This self-criticism isn't merely a consequence of procrastination. It's a contributing factor, a vicious cycle that perpetuates the avoidance behavior. The fear of failure and the anticipation of harsh self-judgment create a powerful incentive to delay or avoid the task altogether. This avoidance, in turn, reinforces a negative self-perception, creating a feedback loop that becomes increasingly difficult to break. To overcome this, we need to cultivate self-compassion and challenge the negative narratives of our inner critic. This involves learning to treat ourselves with the same kindness and understanding that we would offer friends struggling with similar challenges. By replacing self-criticism with self-encouragement, we can create a more supportive internal environment that fosters motivation and reduces the fear of failure. This shift in self-perception is crucial in breaking free from the cycle of shame and avoidance and embracing a more positive and productive approach to tackling challenges. Let's learn to quiet the inner critic and nurture a kinder, more compassionate inner voice. At the heart of procrastination lies a fundamental conflict, the clash between our ego and our shadow self. The ego, our conscious sense of self, strives for achievement and recognition. It desires success and fulfillment, pushing us towards our goals. However, the shadow self, the unconscious repository of our repressed emotions and instincts, often harbors fears and insecurities that sabotage these aspirations. This internal conflict manifests in procrastination. The ego desires to complete the task, but the shadow self, fueled by fear of failure or success, resists. The shadow might whisper doubts, highlighting potential for embarrassment or disappointment, thereby triggering avoidance. The ego, trying to protect itself from this perceived threat, complies with the shadow's resistance, leading to procrastination. This internal tug-of-war is not a sign of weakness. It's a reflection of the complex interplay between conscious desires and unconscious anxieties. Understanding this dynamic is crucial to resolving the conflict. It's not about eliminating the shadow. It's about integrating it, acknowledging its fears and insecurities, and finding ways to address them constructively. This integration involves self-awareness, recognizing the shadow's influence on our behavior and challenging its negative narratives. It requires self-compassion, treating ourselves with understanding and kindness, rather than judgment and self-criticism. By acknowledging and understanding this internal conflict, we can begin to dismantle procrastination cycle, fostering a more harmonious relationship between our ego and shadow selves. This process of integration is essential for personal growth and achieving a more fulfilling life. Let's delve deeper into how we can bridge this internal divide. Carl Jung, the renowned Swiss psychiatrist, offered profound perspective on the human psyche, introducing the concept of individuation, a process of integrating the conscious and unconscious aspect of the self into a unified whole. This journey of self-discovery is not merely a theoretical concept. It's a practical pathway to overcoming procrastination. Procrastination, as we've explored, arises from an internal conflict, a disharmony between the conscious aspirations of the ego and the unconscious fears and anxieties residing in the shadow. Individuation provides a framework for resolving this conflict, for bringing these opposing forces into a state of equilibrium. It's not about suppressing the shadow or ignoring its concerns. It's about understanding and integrating its energy into a more complete and balanced self. This process of integration is not a quick fix. It's a lifelong journey of self-discovery and growth. It requires self-reflection, a willingness to confront our shadow self, and the courage to acknowledge our vulnerabilities. Through introspection, journaling, therapy, or other forms of self-exploration, we can begin to understand the roots of our procrastination, to identify the underlying fears and insecurities that fuel our avoidance. As we become more aware of these unconscious patterns, we can start to challenge them, to replace negative self-talk with self-compassion, and to develop more adaptive coping mechanisms. Individuation is not about achieving perfection. It's about embracing our wholeness, accepting both our strengths and weaknesses, and striving for a more integrated and authentic self. By embarking on this journey of self-discovery, we can transform procrastination from a debilitating habit into an opportunity for growth and self-understanding. It's a path toward a more fulfilling and productive life. Let's now explore some practical steps you can take to begin this transformative process. The shadow self, that hidden reservoir of fears and insecurities, often manifests in procrastination. It's not a malevolent entity, but a part of ourselves that needs understanding and integration. Confronting these hidden fears is crucial for individuation and overcoming procrastination. This doesn't mean facing them head-on in a confrontational manner, but rather approaching them with self-compassion and acceptance. Many of our fears stem from past experiences, ingrained beliefs, and perceived inadequacies. Perhaps the fear of failure is rooted in a childhood experience where criticism overshadowed accomplishment. Or maybe the fear of success is tied to a belief that success will somehow lead to a loss of something cherished. These fears are not irrational. They're deeply personal and often hold valuable insights into our vulnerabilities. Understanding these underlying fears is the first step towards integrating them. This involves self-reflection, journaling, or even seeking guidance from a therapist. The goal isn't to eliminate these fears entirely. That's often impossible. But to understand their origins and to learn how to manage them effectively. Remember, self-compassion is key. Treat yourself with the same kindness and understanding you would offer a friend facing similar struggles. Embrace your imperfections. Perfectionism is often a mask for fear of failure. Striving for an unattainable ideal only perpetuates a cycle of procrastination. Acknowledge your limitations, celebrate your strengths, and focus on progress rather than perfection. By accepting our imperfections, we create space for self-acceptance and personal growth, paving the way for a more fulfilling and productive life. Let's now explore practical techniques to navigate these fears and move towards a more integrated self. We often fall into the trap of waiting for motivation before taking action, but motivation rarely precedes action. It's a common misconception that we need to feel like doing something before we actually do it. The truth is, action often generates its own momentum, its own sense of purpose and accomplishment. This is where mindful action comes in. Mindful action is about taking steps towards your goals, even when you don't feel fully motivated. It's about engaging the process, focusing on the present moment, and acknowledging your progress, no matter how small. It's about breaking down large, overwhelming tasks into smaller, manageable steps. Instead of focusing on the daunting entirety of a project, concentrate on a single, achievable step. Write one paragraph, make one phone call, clean one desk drawer. These small victories build momentum, creating a positive feedback loop that reinforces action and reduces the sense of overwhelm. The key is consistency, not perfection. Small, consistent actions are far more powerful than sporadic bursts of intense effort followed by periods of inertia. This approach acknowledges the reality of our internal conflicts. It doesn't demand immediate eradication of procrastination, but rather provides a practical way to navigate around it. By focusing on the present moment and the small, achievable steps, we bypass the mental roadblocks that often lead to procrastination. We move from a place of avoidance to a place of engagement. This is not about forcing yourself. It's about working with yourself, understanding your limitations, and celebrating your progress. Let's now consider how to maintain this momentum and continue on this path of self-discovery. The journey towards overcoming procrastination is not a destination. It's a continuous process of self-discovery and growth. There will be setbacks, moments of doubt, and times when the shadow self whispers its familiar anxieties. This is perfectly normal. The key is to approach these challenges with self-awareness, compassion, and a commitment to consistent effort. Remember the importance of self-compassion. Be kind to yourself, acknowledging that overcoming deeply ingrained patterns takes time and patience. Celebrate your progress, no matter how small, and learn from your setbacks. Each time you choose action over avoidance, you are strengthening your capacity for self-mastery and reinforcing a more positive relationship with yourself. The path to individuation is a winding one, but it's a path worth traveling. As you continue on this journey, you'll gain a deeper understanding of yourself, your motivations, and your fears. You'll develop a greater capacity for self-regulation and a stronger sense of self-efficacy. This ongoing process of self-awareness and integration will not only help you overcome procrastination, but will also enrich your life in countless ways. Embrace the journey. It's a journey of self-discovery, of growth, and of self-acceptance. It's a journey toward a more authentic and fulfilling life, a life where you are empowered to achieve your goals, not hindered by the whispers of your shadow self. Remember, the process itself is a reward. The continuous effort, the self-compassion, and the growing self-awareness are what truly transform us. And that transformation is well worth the effort.